So we're going to give you some feedback, and as you know, unfortunately, we have to make some very tough decisions this evening. So I think before we go to it, I just want to again congratulate you all on getting this far, and clearly there's been a lot of competition, and you should all be very proud of yourselves in terms of what's been achieved.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So I suppose starting with yourself, Luke, I believe that the lack of self-reflection, that has been evident, even in the little time I've been interfacing with you this evening, is a concern. Certainly, and what's very important in life is to know the difference between what you know and what you don't. And unfortunately, some of your perspective on how maybe today went is not aligned to what those that interviewed you felt. So that's a concern.
Yeah.
We do believe that there's an awful lot of raw talent and that you probably have a very bright future ahead. But it's with regret that you're fired at this stage in the process.
All right.
Thank you very much, Luke.
Good luck.
Moving on, Connell, we've seen very strong presentation skills, and indeed the thought of First Minister of the future, certainly
I never said that.
comes to mind whenever we're talking. I suppose one of the concerns on reflecting over the holistic sense, not just the interviews today, is that you equally have not come forward and been a project manager so far at this stage. I suppose our concern is that we're not convinced that you're really motivated to have a career in Deloitte's. Whenever you refer to want to have a good time and transferable skills, we get a sense that maybe you want to get in there, piggyback on this and go somewhere else, and maybe some of the others are more motivated than you at this point. Owen, certainly the interviewers were very impressed, by I suppose the interviews today, the substance of your extracurricular experience. A lot of the calm under pressure, they tried to trip you up at different stages, and they felt you were pretty unflappable in that sense, which they were very impressed by. You're equally very outcomes focused and use a different language maybe than others around the table in that sense, which is equally impressive. But as we've mentioned already, there's a lot of concern around your focus on your academic area and whether you're going to limit your options, if you let that slip. And so that's clearly something that we've been reflecting on. Nicole, from your own perspective, we also believe that your performance has been very strong in the tasks, and it may be interesting for you to know that 2 out of the 4 of your team members actually nominated you to win. So clearly from an interpersonal and team playership point of view, I think it's something you should be very proud of. I suppose one of the issues that concerns us is that absence of project management, and a true leader does tend to try and come forward sooner in the process, so that's something that we've talked about already. And the other issue would really be around if you're going to present something on your CV like globalisation, you need to be ready to answer a question on those areas, and we've talked about that earlier on. So you can see that we're perplexed. We clearly see the talent that you all have. And I suppose before we make our final call, because a second person unfortunately has to be fired this evening, I'm not sure if you were aware of that at this point. We're asking you maybe for one last opportunity for you to try and influence that and defend yourself in terms of staying on to the next stage of the process. So maybe we'll start with yourself, Nicole.
I just really relished the chance to work for Deloitte for this process. I first heard about the Canadian Apprentice on Facebook, and from that moment I saw it, I wanted to be a part of it, so I was definitely applying. I didn't really consider any possibility of any prizes at this stage. Then I found out about Deloitte, and at that point I only really knew that they were a really reputable company, and I knew that they had the office down the road opposite the Ulster Hall. But it was this point that I took the opportunity to go and do a lot of research about Deloitte. I realised that they're very much in the tax and auditing business, and then I kind of thought maybe that's something where my skills wouldn't really fit, but it'd be an opportunity for me to get some real experience. But it was at that point then where I came across the sustainability and climate change sector of their company, and that's something that was just right up my street. It's something that I'd love the opportunity to be a part of. I think it's brilliant that they're offering their clients the opportunity to improve their businesses in terms of sustainability, and I really would love the opportunity to work for that. I think I've worked to the best of my ability throughout this process, and yes, I have identified some weaknesses, but it's always a learning curve, and you can always learn from any faults that you've made in the process. But yeah, I hope I've done enough to keep my place here.
So what what will we see from you if you get to stay for another stage?
I'm a step to the mark, and well, obviously I'd be my own project leader at this point, and I'll run the task how I feel appropriate, and I think it would be a good opportunity for me to show what I really am all about, and I would have no qualms in doing it, and I think it'd be just a brilliant opportunity, and I really want to be a part of it. I have the confidence to succeed as well.
Okay, cool, thank you. And Owen?
Yeah, I think obviously I spoke to some interviewers today about I spoke already in this boardroom about my ambitions and the internship in Deloitte being the main motivator. I think, not to put any of my other candidates down, but everybody wants this internship with Deloitte, but I'm actually going and wanting an internship with Deloitte. I've already made my interest known with Deloitte. I went to the workshop last year just purely to see what it was like, so that I could go again this year and really make an impact. I was there 3 weeks ago and I've now applied. I'm doing verbal and non-verbal leaving at the minute for them, and I really do want it. I'm not just saying that. I think so far I'm the only project leader left in this boardroom that has won a task, and I think going forward, you might say going forward, what can you see out of me next week? I don't know whether we have our own task. I don't know what the task is. I would love to be here next week, and I would love if we're working with the candidates who've been fired, like in the apprentice, if they come back and we've formed both the teams. I would like to think that I have good relationships in the teams. I spoke to even the candidates that got fired last week. I'm very friendly with Mo. I've been talking to Mo about him last night, and I spoke to Andy today, and I think I would get on well with him. I think I'm a good team leader, I was a good team player, but I think they would be happy to work with me again. So that's
Thank you. And Conor?
I think from the feedback I had earlier on in the boardroom, there seems to be an issue that my experience is overtly political. I've had a lot of experience outside of the political arena, especially with arts administration, which is all the kind of key skills that you really, really need for business. Especially in a climate like we're having at the moment. I think when it comes to the issue of maybe wanting to piggyback off Deloitte, I think that's untrue. I mean, the reason I really want the internship with Deloitte is to see what management consulting is like. I think it would fit right in with my interests in government, because of course government departments will consult with the likes of Deloitte. I think politics is my absolute interest, but I think that could be a help, not a hindrance, when it comes to wanting to work with Deloitte. I mean, I might go in and after 2 weeks find out this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I really just don't know, and that's why I'm so hungry for that opportunity to try it out and to use the skills I have and build new ones as well.
And what would we see from you if you could go through to the next stage?
You would see absolute firepower. You'd see vigour, passion, and absolute willingness to do as well as I possibly can. You'd see things that the guys haven't seen from me before. You'd see incredible, ruthless organisation. You'll see absolute perfection in whatever is delivered. You'll see what the kind of things you've seen for the first 2 weeks, but you'll also see a plethora of other qualities and sides to me.
Well, I suppose on reflection, and it's very difficult, and bear in mind that you all have come very down to the last 3 is pretty impressive in that regard. But taking everything into consideration, particularly looking at the skill set, the learning journey and the motivation, it is with regret, Conal, fired.
Thank you very much.